Welcome back to the Common Sense Crusade with me, the Reverend Calvin Robinson, on your TV, online and on your wireless. In a new book of essays published posthumously entitled What Christianity Is, Pope Benedict XVI warns of a rising intolerance against the Christian faith in an increasingly atheistic West. The late Pope said this intolerance has not yet turned into open persecution, but that legislation is being used to eradicate all that is essentially Christian in society, and I could not agree with him more. He also warns against the distortion of the sexes by gender ideology and defends the unique nature of Catholic Mass and the Catholic priesthood. Sound. Now joining me is Simon Caldwell, who is an associate editor at the Catholic Herald and the author of the novel The Beast of Bethulia Park, which was published just before Christmas by Gracewing. Welcome, Simon. Thank you for joining us again. Can you tell us more about this book, which Pope Benedict has somehow published posthumously?
Yes, I mean, I can't say an awful lot because I'm still yet to read it. It's, as far as I'm aware, it's only been published in Italian. Yeah. It's a collection of 16 essays, I think 12 of which have been published before. The Pope wanted to publish them, the book to be published posthumously, and I think part of that reason was that he expected a backlash, especially from Catholics in his native Germany, where many of them opposed his teaching and the orthodoxy of his teachings. There's a situation there where people want to redefine Catholic teaching, especially in areas of sexuality. They want it to conform more with the zeitgeist. And Benedict really has restated the Catholic faith in a series of essays which touch on things that matter to him. And one of as you rightly pointed out, one of these essays talks about the rising intolerance of Christianity in the West and the redefinition of human rights, the rise of new and destructive ideologies and how they are really eroding religious liberty. He says in the book, that is not yet turned into open persecution. It manifests itself in an increasingly authoritarian way with the aim of achieving, by appropriate legislation, the eradication of all that is essentially Christian. And I think that's what anybody with two glass eyes can see. That's what's happening in society today.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many of these stories that we just don't have the time to cover them all. But one that I wanted to talk about today was the LSE University has renamed its terms from Michaelmas, Hilary and Trinity to winter, spring and summer. It's devoid of beauty. It's dull, but it's also removing Christ, isn't it? And we see this everywhere today. Yeah. But what I want to ask you, Simon, is what can be done about the Germans and their heterodoxy?
Well, I think what anybody who really loves Jesus and loves the church, then they need to be holy. And the church has always been in crisis, and the antidote to evil within the church, whatever it is an increase in holiness among its members. And we don't always have to look to the Pope or the bishops or the priests to provide that. It's for every single baptized person to strive in their lives to live good lives and to be holy people. And we can be confident that in every generation, Jesus will always raise saints in his church. It will always point us towards what is right and what is good and what is true.
Absolutely. We're seeing similar problems in the church, capital C, aren't we, all over the world. Right here in the United Kingdom, we obviously have the Church of England pushing for heterodoxy on the issue of same-sex marriage and gay blessings and all of this stuff. I know you're looking at it from a Catholic perspective, but do you see the Catholic Church as a safe harbour, for example, Anglicans that are looking for a home in Orthodoxy?
I think the Catholic Church has its fair share of problems, but I think it's stronger than the Anglican Communion in that it's quite clear on what it believes, and its faith is stated categorically in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which is accepted by all Catholics. They can't. Nobody will tell you that this isn't what the Catholic Church believes. And on the matter of homosexuality, for example, the teaching is absolutely clear. So it'll take an awful lot to turn that around. And even then, there were many Catholics who will say, well, that's false teaching. If it doesn't conform with 2,000 years of scripture and tradition, it will be rejected as false.
Well, what worries me about that is that Pope Francis did an interview a few days ago where he condemned laws that outlaw homosexuality and said homosexuality isn't a crime. Now, surely the Pope should be concerned about sin, not crime. Why is this area being greyed?
I think he was talking about the many places in which people could be persecuted because they have a strong same-sex attraction. And the Catholic Church doesn't want to see people persecuted for their sexual orientation. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it approves of a same-sex sexual activity, in the same way that's not going to approve of adultery or fornication or pornography or masturbation and things like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that certainly in adultery and fornication, you wouldn't criminalise them. And that's what the Pope was saying. And he's saying that and the Catholic Church teaches that people who have these tendencies should be treated with compassion and fairness and justice. So that's why he's saying it's not a crime.
Okay, well, thank you for that analysis, Simon Caldwell, author and associate editor of The Catholic.